Welcome back to Mobility Insider. I'm Morten Handelsbo. Our channel is not sponsored. All of the views and conclusions are based on me having worked in the automotive business for 35 years. Now, what do we have today? This is the Ineos Grenadier Trialmaster. This is a new car that was launched just last year from a new company called Ineos, and this is their first product. It's a 4x4. It's a very special vehicle. You can have it with two engines, either a diesel engine, 249 horsepower, or you can have a petrol engine like this car has with 286 horsepower. Both engines are BMW engines, and they are paired with a ZF 8-speed automatic transmission. When you see the Grenadier the first time, you think it's the Land Rover Defender, and it is really the spiritual successor of the classic Land Rover Defender. But it doesn't share any part at all with the Land Rover. This is another company, and they have designed the Grenadier from scratch. They're building it in France at a bespoke factory in Hambach, and they have a capacity to build 25,000 Grenadiers per year. When they brought out the car in 2023, it was an instant success. I actually put down a deposit the year before because I wanted to buy a Grenadier. But when I saw the dimensions of the vehicle, I had to cancel my order again because the vehicle is just too tall for my parking spot in town. It is 203.6 centimeters, and that is just too big for where I can park the car. I've always been fascinated by 4x4s, and I had a couple of proper off-roaders, a Land Cruiser LJ70 and a Nissan Petrol, the long wheelbase. And they're a really great vehicle, and what I like about that lifestyle is you can go anywhere with these vehicles. You can sleep in them, you can load them up with equipment, you can go biking. That's a really nice lifestyle for me. But of course, what these cars can do off-road does limit them to what they can do on-road. When you decide to buy an off-roader like the Grenadier, you make a specific choice that you want a vehicle that is built to go off-road. And then you live with the compromises, very likely. A couple of things that probably would annoy me in everyday usage. One thing is that the steering is very lazy, very slow. You have to turn 3.5 times from left to right. And when you park the car, it will take you maybe 4 or 5 points to actually turn the car around. So that's a compromise. Can I live with it in everyday usage? Yeah, I think I could, but some people will not be able to, and they will probably be better off choosing a normal SUV with 4x4 like a BMW X5 or an Audi Q8. You can choose between 11 colors for the Grenadier, and you can also have 17 or 18-inch wheels. This car comes with the 17-inch BF Goodrich TA tires, the KO2 tire, which is a really good and sturdy tire. It also has the smooth pack. That gives you power mirrors, it gives you an alarm system and reversing camera, and a few more things. I think the most interesting options for the Grenadier is probably the Safari roof, this dual roof you have. You can take off entirely. The roof rack is quite a good option. The towing hitch, of course, you would often need, and maybe a winch in front of the vehicle that you can order as well. That would be the options that I would find most interesting and I would order for my Grenadier. You get a fuel tank that contains 90 liters, and that's a good thing because the consumption of the vehicle is quite high. You should expect to have about 13 to 14 liters of average consumption with a petrol engine per 100 kilometers. The Grenadier is a traditional off-roader. You've got a ladder frame chassis and you've got steel springs, and that gives the car a sturdiness when you go off-road. Now, the Grenadier does not have a lot of competition really. Of course, you can buy a used Defender, but they will be at least 8 years old or older. There's a Toyota Land Cruiser, the new 2024 LJ70 series, but that's not available in the US or in Europe, so that's gone. So if you want something that is similar, you can look at the Jeep Wrangler, or you can of course buy the new Land Rover Defender, the 110, that is similar from looks, but it is not as sturdy and as off-road dedicated as the Grenadier. Anyway, now we have arrived at the TCS training center, and we're going to go off-road with the Grenadier a little bit later. So what this car can do off-road is pretty impressive. We tried it today. There's nothing that really stops the Grenadier under normal circumstances. You will be able to go just about anywhere. But let me just explain how the differential locks work. You have a mechanical lock for the center diff, which you activate with your right hand. It's next to the gear shift lever. Then you can go into low mode and you can lock the differential as well. Then you have a rear axle differential lock and you have a front axle differential lock. And you have to activate them in the right sequence, first the rear and then the front. And when you have everything activated, there's very little that stops the Grenadier from moving forward. We tried it today going uphill easily at 80 degrees. The car just climbs without any problem at all. But there's one issue that I discovered when you want to go down the hill. You have a hill descent control. But to activate that, you have to deactivate the rear and the front locks. And that takes a little while and it requires you to have a few meters so you can roll the car back and forward. And I tried that a couple of times, and if you have limited space, it's actually quite difficult to activate the hill descent control. Not a big issue because the car will still do quite well going downhill, but you can't activate the system that easily. Now I've tried the Grenadier on-road and off-road, and it impresses in many ways. It's really solidly built. It's built like a rock, and you just feel the quality of the vehicle, how well it has been constructed. And going off-road, it is a big advantage the way the menu system has been built up and the way you are informed via the screen in front of you as a driver. You get access to the most important information. You can easily change between the menus, and it is really thought through from A to Z. Quite impressive. So when you're driving on the highway, I would say up to about 100 kilometers per hour, the Grenadier is just fine. If you go faster than that, the steering does become a bit sluggish and you have to make adjustments all the time. But that's the price you pay for getting a proper off-roader. And the moment you go off-road, you get all the benefits from the design concept of the Grenadier. Now, if I were to travel across Africa and I had to choose a vehicle for my adventure, would I choose the Grenadier? Maybe. I'm not too sure I would, because you still have the issue of electronics and many components that can break down on any vehicle, especially if you travel where the roads are quite bad. And for that, the Grenadier is probably not the best choice, because in a small village in Tanzania, would I find someone who can repair it? The likelihood that you can have your car repaired is a lot bigger if you choose an old Land Rover Defender or a simple Toyota Land Cruiser 70 series. So one of those two would probably be my choice if I were to travel through Tanzania. So that brings me to the conclusion, having driven the Ineos Grenadier for 5 days. This is a very special car. It's built for a specific purpose, and that is going off-road. So if you go hunting, or you have a farm, or you're a forester, for instance, this is a really nice car and you should probably consider buying it. But most people don't do that. Most people drive 99% of the time on the tarmac road, highway or in town, and that is not what this car is built to do. So with those specific purposes and customers in mind, this is definitely a 4-star off-road vehicle. I tested it on the track, and you saw off-road is going to do just anything, just about. It will not be stopped by any obstacle. Now, the Grenadier is a really cool looking vehicle, and I think a lot of people like the design, and they will certainly like the practicality and the number of functions in the vehicle that will make it very easy to live with it when you go on weekends and long trips. And I think they also like the quality that has been built into the vehicle. So for that reason, I hope that Ineos will modify some of the specifications on the Grenadier to make it appeal to a much larger audience. And that audience are those customers who do not really need a 100% off-road focused vehicle, but they want something that will also work in their everyday usage. So let me give you just one example of what Ineos could do to improve their lineup. This is a Trialmaster. This is the proper off-road going vehicle, very specifically built for that purpose. And here the steering works really well off-road and less well on-road. So I think what Ineos could do was to have another steering setup for the Fieldmaster, which is the on-road going, the urban version of the Grenadier, because that would appeal to a larger number of customers who will then buy into the concept of the Grenadier, but still have a vehicle that works in everyday usage. So a couple of more things that I would like Ineos to have a look at. The car is a bit pricey for many people. This would be too expensive. It is still a bit less expensive than a Land Rover Defender 110, and it's more expensive than a Jeep Wrangler, but it is still quite a lot of money. And I think Ineos could downspec the vehicle so it can still go off-road really well, but it would be significantly less expensive. And last but not least, I think Ineos should consider also building a short wheelbase Grenadier that will compete with the Land Rover Defender 90 series, because there is a big market as well. Thank you for watching Mobility Insider. I hope you liked the video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you know someone who might benefit from seeing the video on the Ineos Grenadier, please share the video with them and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you.